Welcome back to Commercial Real Estate Secrets. Do me a favor, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to the podcast, do so right now. That helps us beat the algorithm, of course. Now, today we have a special guest. Very excited to have him, Daniel Zimmon, and he is the partner of NatScent. And so they work on scents, the science behind what you smell when you walk into a business. And it's a really interesting niche, especially in the commercial real estate world. So how's it going today, Daniel? How you doing?
Oh, it's great. Thanks so much for having me.
Great, great, great. Yeah. So, obviously this is a little bit outside of the box for what we normally do, but I think that it ties in really well to our overall theme. And so how did you get into this? Let's backtrack. Before, what was your introduction to all this? What was your specialty and your career?
Previously, I had a general contracting business in New York City doing commercial work and a lot of retail work. And after I sold that, I was doing some advisory work for different companies that were either starting up or expanding into the United States, and got introduced to this business through a company that was doing it from Australia that wanted to move into the US. And surprisingly, I hadn't had very much exposure to or experience in scent management, even though we did hundreds or thousands of jobs in retail and commercial space in New York City, New York Metro, and up and down the East Coast. And we did do some luxury retail and hospitality where it's much more commonly used. So anyway, when I found out about it and got introduced to it, I just loved the value proposition and I loved the ROI. Our sense of smell is so important in our lives and how we feel, and really nothing influences us as much or as quickly as our sense of smell. But for some reason, especially in the United States, other countries are a little different. A lot of companies don't pay much attention to it unless you're a luxury hospitality or luxury retail. And so for me, I was like, wow, this is a massive opportunity in so many verticals to help companies and to help people's experiences. So that's how I got introduced.
Mm,
That's how I decided I was really interested in doing it.
that's interesting. Yeah. So, luxury brands, I think, do have an understanding of this. I mean, because I think of any time I walk into a store, a nice store, I mean, the smell is very, very common. And so, why do you think it is that, what would be considered like non-luxury brands don't focus on the smell, or don't invest in the smell?
Well, this has been something that I've been trying to figure out, because honestly, when you talk to anybody about their life and you say, hey, there's the science behind smell. It's directly connected to your emotions. I mean, it's the first thing that your body senses when you go anywhere. It's your basic self-defense mechanism, and people all recognize it. It's got a tremendous link to memory, right? There aren't a lot of memories without a smell component.
Mm,
But for some reason, I think like anything in certain businesses, if you're not familiar with it and you haven't done it before, people don't think of it. Maybe they think it's really expensive. Maybe they think it's really hard to do. I think a lot of businesses too have tried to do it in a DIY type, like a home based system, and failed because it's high maintenance and not very precise. So yeah, I just think just the awareness isn't there, and it's been great for us because we've had great success in a bunch of different verticals, just helping people out. Like, basically we say, hey, we're a subscription. We're like, just try it for a month and see the results, and it's been fantastic that way. So I don't really know why. I just think people don't think of it in business, even though, like you said, you can't really imagine walking into a beautiful hotel or like a high-end store and have it smell like carpet tiles. But for some reason, people with regular stores, like a wireless reseller or a doctor's office, dentist's office, they're like, yeah, well, they don't really think twice that it smells like plastic.
um, yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. And I just think about me, um, the with I had the gyms, I had some fitness centers, and so we obviously cared about smell. And there's a couple different ways that you can handle it, right? And so there's like the cover up smell, which
Right.
is like a little bit of what we did. So it's got, you try and clean everything as much as you can, and then you try and get a scent because it's hard to really remove it. Like some of those smells are just, they're hard to remove, right? When people are in a gym and a fitness space and they're sweating all the time. But
Oh, you bet.
we realized how important it was, because the last thing you don't want to feel like you're just rolling around in other people's sweat, right? Like you don't want to feel like it's dirty, even though you're going there to work out. People obviously don't want to share germs like that, regardless of how much you're working out. But we weren't really intentional about the smell, right? Like we were intentional about making it not smell bad. We weren't really
Hmm.
intentional about making it smell good. And so it's crazy just how much of the branding that would equate to, right? Like you're so focused on the color scheme, and you're so focused on the personalities and the people and the words that you say and everything like that. But yeah, smell, like you said, is the strongest sense. And it feels like it would just been interesting going back if we would have implemented it, how to see the differences.
Whoa.
You're
Sorry.
good.
Sorry about that.
To
Power
see,
off on the power off on the thing for some reason. Maybe it ran out of juice. I'll move it. Well, exactly. And like, some of the greatest brands and most successful brands in fitness. And we did a lot of work with, we were doing a lot more work in fitness before the pandemic, but some of the best brands in fitness have used smell really effectively, and getting a little more intentional and adding some of the science has how it really helps, right? Like you guys are doing everything right. And everything you say is right on point. Yeah, it's okay if it smells a little bit like a gym and people are sweating. It should. And cover ups, that doesn't work great either, because it smells like a cover up, which makes people's brain think there's something wrong. But
right,
getting a little intentional and saying, hey, this is what we're doing and why we're doing it, and we need this to match our image, is incredibly valuable and actually pretty easy. So instead of like, your gym smelling like a cleaning product, right? You're choosing what it smells like, and you're also making that association. If you smell like any particular cleaning product or a Febreze, well, people smell that all over the place in all different situations, and a lot of them aren't really positive. But when you get intentional, you imprint your experience, you create your memory, and you create value. I mean, it's a different experience for people's brains, a positive one. And the science behind it is crazy. I try not to, actually, I try not to give people the numbers or give them the scientific papers, although they're on our website. I mean, Nike says that on their program, people's intent to buy is elevated by 80% in their scented spaces versus when they
wow.
weren't scenting. I mean, Nike went so far as to build identical stores next to each other and test it that way. Um, but yeah, you're right. You're right on the money. I mean, it's also really not very expensive, and it's a huge thing. That's why all the big brands do it, and it's been great. It just feels great to help companies leverage the culture they spend a lot of money on to create.
Yeah, no, 100% right. And so the reason that we got connected is because you were using this for DSOs, like the dental support organizations. I think it's a great idea too. So how is it going? Like, talk to us a little bit about the dental support organizations and how you're working with them.
Yeah, I mean, we're working with dental, we're working with orthopedics, mostly discretionary spend medical. It's the easiest value. Those are the people that are most focused on their customer, their client experience, their patient experience. It works for them on branding, and it works for them on memory and imprint. So, dental in particular, people's association, especially older people like me, have a pretty negative association with dental care. I mean, it was painful. It was kind of scary. And to change that first impression is an enormous differentiator versus just walking into a generic practice. I mean, most of the DSOs we're working with, they're beautiful. I mean, one of their biggest advantages is they work real hard on patient experience, right? They have a brand, people recognize it. They work with their people internally to help them be terrific. And so adding that scent, as soon as people experience that again, they feel it. It's imprinted into their memory. They show up more often for their cleanings. They're more likely to choose treatment plans than rather than decline them. So it scent kind of works the same way in everything. When it's positive, it's really an imprintation. It's just like if you think of your experience in your family's house, or a particular place you like to go, or you can recall the smell, and when you think of that place, you think of that smell. So it's that interlink that's so powerful. And like you said about your fitness places, just being more intentional about it rather than accidental. So the DSOs create these great brands and this great level of service, right? But if every different branch you go to smells different, one smells like Febreze, one smells like Fabuloso, one smells like Pine Sol, you're missing a massive opportunity to cement the experience and drive that loyalty.
Mm. Yeah, no, I agree. You know, dental has, like you said, gotten a lot better over the years, but it used to be, I mean, there's literally idioms in the dental industry about how terrible things life are. It's like, oh, getting a tooth pulled, or like, oh, that's like getting a root canal. Um, yeah, and so there's a lot of smells that go into it that could like trigger bad memories. And yeah, being intentional about that smell is gonna have a lot of upside, because now you can help, A, offset people's memories, but B, also give them a feeling of comfortability, right? Or even a feeling of luxury.
Exactly. I mean, there's some great case studies, and some of the businesses are going super high end luxury, calling it. A lot of dental companies are working towards offering spa services too, right? Why only offer, like you said, having your tooth pulled or a root canal? It doesn't really hurt, but it's gonna hurt afterwards. It's some tough stuff. And they offer all kinds of they offer whitening, straightening, all these other things that, it's an upsell, it's an up buy. And there's a reason luxury brands pay attention to smell. It just makes a huge difference. So it's just a great opportunity. I mean,
Mhm.
I was thinking before about the consistency and look, these companies are aware, and they in healthcare, it's even been shown that the way you feel about the people that are taking care of you, the emotions you experience from them, has an impact on how well you receive the treatment and how well you hear. Yeah, I'm sorry, how well you heal.
Hmm.
So these companies work really hard on that. They know it's important and they care. So adding this piece is, like I said, it's leverage on all the work that they do.
Hmm. Yeah. So how much of the science are you familiar with? Like, how much can you talk about that?
Well, it goes all the way back to ancient Egypt,
Hmm.
or the Catholic Church, or scientifically, it's been studied, and that between 75 and 100% of memories have a scent link to them. And usually, it's our most people. Sometimes people need to get more aware of it, or are less aware of it. The reason people are less aware is that it doesn't go through your cognitive brain. It connects to your emotional brain. And the reason it does is because our sense of smell is built as a self-defense mechanism. Think about it. You're a cave person, and you're walking through the forest, and there's a tiger around the corner. So you might not see that tiger, but if you're going to smell it before you see it, and you know your hair stands on end, you feel that tingling. It's built to connect to your emotions. It's built to connect to that part of your brain, and that's why it's so useful in terms of first impressions. That's why it's so useful in terms of feelings of safety. You might not even know it, but if you smell something that's scary, whether it's burning rubber or like the burning brakes on a train, you ever use a train?
Yeah,
um,
very rarely, but I have.
Up here in New York Metro, people ride trains a lot.
I
That
bet.
burning brake smell. There's nothing wrong with it. That's how trains work. But it's a little scary. It's like you're driving in your car and you smell like burning brakes. You get scared, right? So the converse is just a huge opportunity. And one of the best parts about it is we can offer, and this is part of why I founded the company, is we can offer the highest levels of technology for a really reasonable amount of money, really not much more money than people would spend, or the same money than people would spend burning candles or messing around with ultrasonic diffusers and drops. And we can deliver the scent the same way a luxury hotel does. No maintenance, perfectly consistent, exactly at the level you want it. So, I mean, it's pretty cool. And you know, the science also behind it says that we detect smells all the time because it's our basic self-defense mechanism. So your brain detects things even at levels that you can't actually smell yourself or don't cognitively know you're smelling. The science used to be people's brains detect things down to 1 part per million, and now it's been shown that your brain can sense smells at 1 part per billion.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. And so I think also in the commercial real estate world too, there's an application for this. So you know, when you and I were talking earlier, you mentioned specifically multifamily housing.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're working with some brokerage companies, commercial real estate companies use it. I'm sure we've all experienced walking into an apartment building, and if the apartment building smells like roach spray, or the exterminating products that the companies are using to keep down the bugs and stuff, and you just don't feel good about the value of the building. But when you walk into a beautiful hotel on South Beach, and it smells like $1 million, that you extend that value perception to every unit in the building. And I mean, that's incredible. Like, if you think about it, I used to live in this building in Manhattan that had 900 apartments, and for $140 a month, they made the lobby smell fantastic, and that impacted the value in all 900 built apartments.
Mm. Yeah, it's good. So like when you go into a company store like, you know, Louis Vuitton, there's this kind of leather smell, which obviously their stuff is all leather. You know, how much are
Mm.
they relying on the smell of their actual products versus having like an intentional scent blasted out?
The vast majority of companies in luxury manage their scent professionally.
Okay.
The thing about, their products do smell, and that counts. It counts when people open them. Think about that. The difference between we worked with a streetwear company, and they what they did was they got a lot of like short run specialty items that they would sell that would attract people into their stores. And they even had an expression they used to say when they would open a pair of specialty sneakers, the new ones that just came in, and sometimes they would get just like one set of like one pair of every size, but people really were interested in them. They'd come to the store to try to get them. They used to say, "Does this one smell like a winner?" So, so luxury, so luxury stores, they all do it. I mean, it's not something they're going to leave to accident. They want it to be consistent. If when it causes people to spend between 8 and 38% more money, when it causes a higher conversion rate, when what Nike said, people have an 80% higher propensity to make a purchase. That's not something you want to just kind of leave to accident.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. It's such an interesting concept to think about because the entire industry is just so uncommon. Um, you know, I'm kind of wondering, how do you set yourself apart with smell? So like if you're in the, you know, the high end space of anything, and you've already got people doing it, like BMW versus Mercedes, right? Like they both are aware of the smell. They both use it. You know, how do you separate yourself in situations like that?
Oh, that's a great question. We do a lot of custom scent logo design for companies, and same thing. It's much more value price than you might think. So people are so sensitive to smell. You can take an existing smell and tweak it a little bit and make it unique, and it's you're different. I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes we find we have a home line too, and so I use it in my apartment. And if you don't clean out the bottle or use a new bottle when you change scents, even though there's almost nothing left in there, all of a sudden you walk into the room and you're like, this is totally different than anything I've ever experienced. It takes very little to create something that's very special. And you were mentioning car companies, they're huge with it. I mean, all the high end cars for BMW, Mercedes, and Audi now have a scent diffuser built in. I got Audi has an entire department that smells every piece that gets made for every car and grades it. It's like,
So that's a person's full-time job?
oh, it's a whole team's full-time job.
Wow.
It's a whole department in the company. That's how important it is. And on in cars, just like everything else, you get imprinted. So um, once you have an Audi or once you have a BMW or Mercedes, you'll find that people are very loyal. One of the biggest drivers of that is because when they get in a different brand of car, it doesn't smell the same, so you don't feel right.
Yeah, that's so true. So yeah, I think it's an interesting story, like how, you were in the construction, the industry, and in New York City, which, was will be pretty busy, and I have to imagine pretty stressful, and that somehow transitions you to here. So I mean, what was when you were in the construction industry, you owned your own company, right? You said you sold that?
Yeah, I had a partner, yes.
Okay. How did you become a partner in that company, first of all?
We bought it. We bought it from somebody else at a very small size, and we built it. We built it into a big company.
And what kind of construction, like what kind of buildings did you specialize in?
We specialize in interiors, low rise up to 10 stories, a lot of commercial stuff, a lot of stuff for financial institutions, a lot of distributed retail, a lot of Fifth Avenue retail type stuff too, and a lot of workplace. So, we had a tendency to develop great relationships with companies and then provide value based on a track record, and that's kind of how we grew. So it was great. I mean, it was fantastic. I loved it. It
How
was a
long did you
lot
do
of
that
fun.
for?
Over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Over 20 years. But I have to say, like, the thing I love about basically introducing or helping companies, it's not just what we bring to them, it's also what we help them, as you said, be more intentional about it. The value proposition of that, and the experience and the impact and the upside impact on their bottom line is what really attracted me to it, and why I really love doing it. I mean, construction, it's cost side, and you can do great stuff and create great value. The ROI is certainly there, but like, companies don't feel it in this business. And there's so many companies that don't pay attention to this. And that's where we focus, try to help new companies manage their scent profile and create scent brands and add that to their brand. I mean, it's like, I guess per square foot, a good example, we used to build luxury retail stuff for a bunch of different companies, and they would spend, all in over $1,000 a square foot, right? To have these spaces, to have
Wow.
these flagship spaces.
Yeah.
So managing their scent in those spaces, which has an enormous impact, like almost on the same level as that entire investment, costs 20 cents a square foot. So it's incredible. It's like, it's pennies, but it has gigantic dollar impacts, and I love that. I still do. It just feels good.
Mm. Yeah, and that's really cool. And so, when you had the construction company, did you experience with the sense at all? I mean, I imagine it's such a different industry, like especially because everything's changing so much. There's no permanence. Like it's not like you have like, electricity and that sort of thing.
Yeah, surprisingly very little. I mean, some of our luxury clients were using it, but middle market, nobody. Office and workplace, pretty much nobody.
Hmm.
And this is what you find in the marketplace in the United States. It's luxury hospitality, everybody. Airlines, everybody. Car companies, everybody. Luxury retail, everybody. And then after that, it falls off a cliff. And there's so many clients and so many different verticals that I mean, I see and other people see as opportunities, but it's a lot of work to go into a new one, to explain to people something that they've never done. I don't mind it though. I mean, we've been doing more and more work with the pandemic in healthcare, and healthcare is fantastic. I mean, there are smell applications in anesthesia right now that use it for individual people just to kind of change what their mind is perceiving, and extending that into the choice process and the buy side and the value perception of practices. I mean, it's so easy, and honestly, it's like it's a no brainer, right? You know, when you go to the dentist, you can't really judge. You know, you're trying to judge the quality of the practice, right? And that's why dentists spend lots of money on having a beautiful office, or some do, especially DSOs, having great people that connect with you. But the number one thing your mind uses as a value perception, as safety perception, is smell.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's so true. And it's just, just crazy how much we take it for granted.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, it's like, it's beautiful.
So
It
what are next steps for somebody? Like, is there a way to sample some things, you know what I mean, to try some different things out? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, we do that all the time. We do pilots. Like I said, we're a subscription based business model, and the reason we do that is because scent is something that takes management too. It takes attention. If a company or an organization is not very aware, right, you can't just send them the gear and set it up and let it run and then forget about it, because the people in the organization, they'll plug deodorizers in the bathroom, they'll spray different things, and you have to follow up with them and keep tuning what they're doing to help them. You mentioned that in your gym business. Hey, you were thinking about it, but you could have used a little bit of help in terms of being more intentional. What do we When we're covering up scents, what's that doing, and how should we do it, and what's the best way to deliver it? So that's what, uh, I might have lost the beginning of that. Well, what did you start with?
Um, yeah, well, that would just, for people to sample it out,
Oh, how do they get started, and how do they sample?
Yeah.
So we're a subscription, so we just tell them, look, give it a try. You're only paying by the month, and see what the results are. And we'll also send them sample scents from our portfolio of stuff that's been proven in the marketplace. Usually they start with a proven one and then move into their own, tweak it and make it special to them. And most of our clients, they try it in one or two locations, and then in a short period of time, they end up rolling it out to everywhere.
Mm.
So it's painless and it's riskless. So that's another great thing about it. You sign up someone to build an entire building for you, and hey, once you start the process, you can't really get out of it. That's one of the reasons we were successful, because we were great at delivering value and a great experience, and being aware and working on our clients' behalf. But they got that expression in construction, in terms of bid leveling and bid evaluation. Well, $10,000 buys a lot of Tylenol. People say that up front, but then by the end they're like, no, it didn't really work. Great thing about scent management and working on it is there's no upfront investment. There's no risk. I'm trying to think if I had anybody. I have had one or two pilots where where the companies decided not to go with the program, but vast majority, everyone's like, this works.
Well, cool.
Proven.
Well, and how can they get in touch? What's the best way to reach out to you guys?
Just call me. Check us out on the web at natscent.com. My email's on there. We keep it personal. And you said, how do we compete in the marketplace? Two ways. One is there are some very big players that use the same awesome technology that we use. We have some great relationships with perfumers in France and the United States. That's one. The other way we compete is founder level attention. And the third way is we're nimble and lean in terms of pricing. We're like a third less than the biggest companies in the marketplace, with the same technology and better levels of service. So just reach out to us. I mean, I'd love to help anybody. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah. And I will put that website in the show notes for people to click on too.
Thank you.
That's great. I mean, yeah, totally new perspective, or a different way of different lens of looking through business and how to be successful, in terms of smell and scent, your strongest of your six senses. So I really appreciate it, Daniel. Thanks for taking the time to come on. And I look forward to connecting with you more in the different healthcare spaces.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to have me on the show. It's a pleasure. And oh, we also have references and stuff on the website, articles and things like that. I'm happy just to help people answer questions, anything they want to know.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Austin. You too. I really appreciate it. Bye.